Welcome, I'm Hugh Massey, the President and Founder of DNA Behaviour International. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to leverage your talents. As a mentor or senior advisor, you will have completed your Business DNA natural behaviour discovery and received your reports. The objective now is to identify your strengths for the greatest contribution that you could make to your advisory business, and through that gain greater clarity as to how your protege who would be coming into the business could add value. On completing your Business DNA Natural Behaviour Discovery, the following 3 reports will be available to you online to provide insights into your natural, instinctive, hardwired talents. There will be the Workplace Operations Report, the Business DNA One-Page Factor Report, and the Business Talent DNA Report. To help facilitate your review of your report, I suggest that you go to the resource area and draw down the Business DNA Personal Performance Plan. This is going to provide you with a structured format to self-reflect on your report and answer some questions on what the report means to you and how you can utilize your talents going forward. Overall, utilizing the DNA Personal Performance Plan will help you build greater self-awareness from using the Business DNA reports and also to be able to manage your behaviors. In understanding your natural behavior discovery reports that are produced by Business DNA, it's important to remember that they only measure your natural hardwired behavioral traits. They do not identify what we call baggage or mental health attributes. The outcomes will remain stable over time. That is a key aspect of measuring natural instinctive behavior. It does not change. There are no good or bad behavioral styles for being an advisor. The intention is not to box any particular person or say that because you're a particular style that you're suited to doing X. No decision should be made solely on the reports. The reports are intended to provide insight only, and high-performing employees and leaders can and do come from any behavioural style. So across the financial services industry, we have seen top performers come from all of the 10 Business DNA styles that I'm going to be showing you in this video. The behavioural styles are neutral to gender, generation and birth order. The first Business DNA report that you should review is the Business DNA Workplace Operations Report. This report will provide you insights on the following 8 key areas: your natural behaviour style, your business risk management factors, decision-making strengths and struggles, work-life attitudes, work-life planning drivers, business decision-making, risk grouping, leader-teammate compatibility, and some powerful questions that you can consider for yourself. In reviewing the Workplace Operations Report, it's good for you to engage deeply with the report, and the first question I always like you to reflect on is, how did you feel about the natural behaviour discovery? Did you feel it was accurate? Were there aspects of the report that you agreed or disagreed with? Was there parts of the report that you didn't understand? Has the report told you something new about yourself? That is always a key question, because if we're all honest with ourselves, the report will provide insight or clarity on some aspect of who you are that you hadn't fully realized before. It might have been in your subconscious to some degree, but the report will bring it to life. How does the report bring out the differences that you have with others, whether it's with work colleagues, your protege, family members? From reviewing the report, what do you believe is your greatest behavioural talent? And then start reflecting on how you're going to use that behavioural talent. What part of your behaviour do you struggle with most? It's important to understand that your greatest struggle area will actually be the opposite of your greatest strength. Put another way, struggles come from strengths overused. And then how have you learned to adapt your natural behaviour in key areas of life, being business leadership, career, family, and other personal and community interactions. If you feel that there are some aspects of the report that are not feeling comfortable for you, then I suggest you show your spouse the report. What we have always found is that your spouse will clearly see your blind spots, and they will be able to provide insights on the truth. This graphic highlights the 10 unique styles that each person is categorized into. Please remember that these are overall styles, but each person is nevertheless unique. There are no two, for example, strategists that are going to be exactly the same, given the in-depth calculations and behavioural methodology we've had in coming up with each person's underlying scores. But for training purposes and working with the profile reports, we have categorised people into 10 key areas so to make this more understandable and easier to work with. And what you'll see here is that the people on the left-hand side here are more results orientated, and the people on this side here are more relationship orientated. There is an equal balance between people who are results orientated and relationship orientated. Here you'll see the breakdown between each of the particular styles, and as I said before, overall it's pretty much equal between the results styles and the relationship styles. This graphic here provides a little bit more insight as to the 10 different styles. It shows more clearly how they are different. This is based on the first 5 factors that we measure in the system. And you can see here, for example, graphically, that the community builder, which is a more relational style, is opposite to a strategist, which is a more results-based style. Again, each person is going to fall into one of these 10 categories. To understand more about your unique style, that is, whether you are a strategist or a community builder, for example, you can go to the resource area and draw down the DNA Unlocking Human Capital Performance Guide, and this booklet will provide you in this format with very good insight about your style. Some of you will come out as an adapter, and the person who is a true adapter is basically a very flexible person. All of the behavioural scores that underlie the report will basically be in the middle. So at particular times the adapter will be able to operate one way, and then at another time operate another way. That's being flexible. That is actually a talent, to be highly flexible. But also, some people who come out as an adapter have gone through recently a very significant life challenge. If you're one of those who have gone through a significant life challenge in the last few months that's been relatively traumatic, then we suggest you retake the business DNA assessment to 6 months down the track when you've moved through that important life challenge. But otherwise, we don't recommend that any person retakes the business DNA natural behaviour discovery, because the first time through is the most accurate, given it is measuring natural instinctive behaviours. This graph is shown in the Workplace Operations Report and shows the T-scores that have been measured from your answers to the forced choice questions, and shows where you sit in relation to the population. So, for example, Chris Coddington here on the take charge behavioural trait here has a score of 69. The highest possible score is 80, and he would be more take charge than 97% of the population. On this side here, he is also very reserved. He has a T-score of 31, and so he would be more outgoing than 3% of the population, or put it another way, he is more reserved than 97% of the population. So he's very strong on reserve. So where you see the highlighted blue bars, that is showing the person's score on that particular factor, where they are strongest. And then we also highlight the person's two strongest behavioural traits with the asterisks here, which I've circled for this graphic, and here. So for Chris Coddington, his two strongest behavioural traits are being pioneering. He's got a score of 79, so that's very extreme. Very few people come out with a score that strong, so he's more pioneering than 99% of the population. And he is more skeptical than 99% of the population, or put another way, more trusting than only 1% of the population. So what we find is that under pressure, the person will revert back to their natural instinctive behaviours. These two strongest behavioural traits will dominate, even though he has got some other strong traits as well. But most people have two very strong traits. This bell curve helps us understand the strengths of the behaviour, and that the movement in the scores is not equal. So that the further you progress from 50, which is the middle, out to 80, the stronger the score, and the strength of the behaviour increases exponentially. So the movement between a score of 70 to 80 is much stronger than the movement between a score from 60 to 70, and the same on the left-hand side. So a score of 30 going downwards to 20 is very strong. What we're after when we review the reports is those scores over 60 and those scores under 40 are the strongest behavioural traits, and they're the ones to concentrate on in understanding the report. And here is a little bit more explanation of each of the behavioural factors. So there are 8 behavioural factors. This is the first 5 that particularly deal with your results and relationships, propensities here. And this is the next 3 that really address your workplace direction and drive. So, for instance, 2 people could have similar traits for the first 5 but differ in these areas. So pioneering, which is around goals, risk-taking is around will the person take risks or be cautious, and then creativity is around a person dealing with more new ideas, abstract things, being resourceful versus wanting to follow consistent ways. And again, the stronger the score going to 80 or the score going towards 20, the more dominant that behaviour will be. So we emphasise in our system strengths. That's very important. So the strengths are those talents that come naturally, which should be used. Also, we want to point out, though, strength overuse can become a struggle. So there is a point where, through self-awareness, the person has to be aware of the impact of their strengths on others and how they deploy it in particular situations. Just the fact that, for example, you are very high in risk-taking doesn't mean you should always take risks, and that you need to be aware of the impact of that, because struggles that you're not aware of and that are not properly managed become a weakness. We never use the word weakness in the system, but struggles that the person is not addressing then become a weakness. And the mid-range scores are those in the middle, and the adapter will be mid-range basically in all scores. We also provide you with a Business DNA one-page factor report where we are showing you the factor scores, the primary factor scores here, which you've already seen on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. But we also break it down into sub-factors, which are additional independently measured behavioural factors to provide deeper levels of insight as to why you might be take charge. So 2 people could have a take charge score of 69 but have a different mixture of sub-factors. They don't average out to 69. They're independently measured. So again, 2 people could have the same take charge score as 69, but the breakdown here of the sub-factors would be different. And that goes through each of these factors. And this is really what brings out the uniqueness of each person. So there are millions of different combinations, and this is why 2 people who are strategists will never really be exactly the same, because their breakdown of behavioural factors and sub-factors could be different. Some strategists, for example, risk takers, others are actually cautious. Some are creative, some are not, for example. In the Workplace Operations Report, we also provide this compatibility matrix, and this helps you see more clearly, based on your style, those people that you've got a similar style to, that you don't need to modify as much your style, and those you're going to need to modify more. We always say that in building a business, you want to have different styles. The differences do make it difficult, but they're also assets, having different talents on the team. But dealing with those differences, as I said, can be hard because there's opposite perspectives come into play. So, for example, if you are an advisor like Chris Coddington that I've been using so far, and you're a strategist, you're going to need to modify your behaviour more, for example, with a community builder or an engager where the darker green. So some people have more modification to require. That's usually the stronger results-driven people need to work on modifying their behaviour more when they're dealing with relationship people. The relationship people generally find it a bit easier. Also in the report we provide these tables. These are the work-life attitudes here. So what we've done is taken the person's two strongest behavioural factors and provided a deeper set of insights as to how they view the world, how they view the workplace, how they're going to operate in the workplace. So what we're trying to do here is make more meaning of the behavioural factors. And then here we've taken it a little bit further and look at how the person will make decisions, how they build relationships, their focus on results, their planning, do they stay focused on the plan, do they support innovation, and so on. And some of these are communication and relationship type factors. And again, what this really does bring out is that a person who is results driven, like Chris Coddington is, will have a lot of highs on areas like desire to make decisions and setting plans, but will be more struggles in the relational areas. The percentages mean where you sit or the person sits in relation to the rest of the population on this particular insight. So somebody with a score of 84% will be high and will have a desire to make decisions more than 84% of the population, but here will build relationships only more than 4% of the population. In other words, is not that relational naturally. May learn through time and effort and building a business to be relational, because that's key to building the business, but their natural instinct is not that way. We find that this tool is very important. This is what we call the DNA Ultimate Performance Guide. It sits there in the reports. It's made up of the person's two strongest factors. So again, two strategists, for example, being the unique style, may have quite different performance strength and struggles because they have different behavioural factors making up their overall style. But this is meant to be a self-coaching card as well, and a tool that can be used in helping others, and it cuts to the chase on what your strengths are, what your struggles are, and how you want to be related to in the workplace. We do emphasise self-coaching, and it's good to use the DNA Ultimate Performance Guide for that as a reminder, and it's a good tool to use in meeting with any of your team and employees, and also for yourself. When you've ever had a meeting or a situation's difficult, just revisit your own strengths and struggles of how you're going to manage that and the environment you want to be in to make the best decisions and to operate effectively. So the DNA Performance Guide is a good tool for that. Here's our Business Talent DNA report, where we've used the behavioural insights that you've already been provided with and broken them down into 10 key insights that are important for leading a business and operating in the workplace. The first 5 here are about building, getting results, and the bottom 5 are about relationships. It's important to remember that the Business DNA tools are not to be used for diagnosing mental health, psychological conditions. They're meant to be used for business and to help leaders and businesses with behavioural understanding of people to make better decisions. If you'd like to learn more about Business DNA and the reports that we have on offer and how the system works, please email us at support@dnabehaviour.com or visit our website at businessdna.com.